And we have started our recording, and today is April 22nd, 2021, and this is the Practitioners Clearing Session. Today, my guest is Susan P.A. Am I saying this right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And before we get into our meditation, just wanted to thank you all for coming today, and also to welcome everyone to the clearing session on Zoom. This is organized by the SRA itself and the board of directors for our entire community. It includes the practitioners, consultants, and teachers worldwide. I know this time doesn't work out for everyone's time zone, which is why it's being recorded and it's being going to be posted on the SRA's YouTube channel. Usually it takes a little bit, so it'll be posted probably within the week, if not sooner. They usually send out a little ad letting you know it's been posted. This is free of charge to you, and Susan and I are volunteering our time to be here tonight. Although, again, there will be moments when everyone is muted, we will have an opportunity for interaction and for questions. And you can also put questions in the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat box and letting Susan know what your questions are. A couple of announcements just to let you know that if you're looking for a new set of charts or something like that, please contact the SRA office directly. And if you're wanting to really enhance your skills, retaking the advanced class from a certified teacher is a beautiful way to keep the magic going. I retook the class in person at least 6 times with Robert, probably many more. So think about retakes as definitely that potential for you to continue. And then today I have the privilege, as you can see, to have Susan P.A. here as part of, and she's been part of the SRA for many years. I met her when she came to visit in Phoenix one year. I think I met you in New Jersey too. Yeah, I was teaching.
Yeah, I was in New Jersey. Yeah.
So without realizing, how did she end up on the spiritual path is without realizing the depth of her spiritual connection. Susan intuitively felt from an early age that she was definitely in the loving presence of spirit. And she just assumed everyone felt this way. I think we can relate to that. um, but that wasn't the case. And so, after years of trying to make sense of it all, she finally accepted that she could no longer live what some might view as an ordinary life in an ordinary way. So, one day, teachers and peers began to appear in her life, and her studies began. And she continues her studies with Eastern and Western philosophies, which started with Ramana, and I'm going to try to say these names correctly, Maharishi, and uh, Rudra Nanda and Yogananda, and many others, as well as New Thought Western practices. Her time with the late Mayan elder Hun Bat's Men, and now with Mayan educator Miguel Angel Vergara, continues to bring understanding and appreciation of her ancient Mayan culture and their connection to the earth and cosmic worlds. In Peru, she studied with Elder Willow Huata, an educator of star knowledge of the ancient Incans. And so, for over 40 years, Susan has studied and practiced many different healing arts. The Silva method, which is the Jose Silva mind control, the Maral El healing, then Jinshu Zitsu, and Reiki. She became a teaching master in 1995 and Renaissance repatterning, and received the gift from Spirit of Light Energy Healing. Susan sat in development circles for over 30 years, both as a student in the early days and later as a teacher, helping others feel and sense the love and wisdom of their guides. Currently, Susan offers remote sessions by phone and Zoom throughout the US. In 2005, Susan experienced her first session with spiritual response therapy, also known as spiritual response technique. She felt a lightness throughout her body immediately afterwards and wanted to know more. So in 2007, she became a certified consultant, and in 2011, Susan earned her certification as an SRT teacher. She enjoys her work with clients as they break free from lifetimes of discordant self-limiting patterns, and have those wonderful aha moments, which I think we can all relate to. She loves helping students who are eager to transform their lives and themselves, their clients, working with their clients, and also their families. Susan's been a private practice since 1994 and a minister with the Universal Brotherhood movement since 2001. She remains dedicated to spiritual growth and remains a seeker of knowledge and wisdom of the ancients through mystery school teachings and her travels to sacred sites around the world. So truly, she's had an ever unfolding journey of wonderment, and she's enjoyed that a lot. So before we begin our topic tonight, we're going to turn it over to Susan for meditation. And Susan, let me just make sure everyone is muted. Just a moment. Uh, just a second. I'm a little, I don't know what it is. You just get away from it for a moment, and there we go.
Looks like it.
Yeah. So hold on and let me find Susan in the list. And there you go, Susan. You're unmuted, correct? All right.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks for your patience, everyone. I kind of unlearned a few things. All right.
all right, well, everybody, let's get started with this wonderful little meditation to sort of bring us into this present moment more profoundly. Just go ahead right now and close your eyes. Just begin to take some really nice, even breaths into the belly and then exhaling completely. Do that a couple more times. Breathing in fully, releasing, and one more time. And as you begin to breathe in a normal rhythmic pattern, please realize that you are drawing in the breath of spirit. And this breath of spirit is touching every cell of your body and inviting every cell of your body to open and remember that they too are one with spirit. And so begin to feel a lightness moving through your head, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your torso, your legs, your feet. Feel yourself with every breath expanding into the light, into the breath, into the presence of spirit. Imagine this expansion is moving beyond the pores of your skin, out into the universe and beyond, as you truly are one with all things. Feel this infinite expansion on all levels. You are the heart, you are the breath, you are the movement, and you are the measure of spirit. And allow yourself, as your consciousness drifts beyond the form into the formless, to go even farther. Move up the ladder of soul and spirit consciousness into the highest expressions of radiant love in the new paradigm. This is your truth. It is just for us to know it on all levels. And with that knowledge and awareness awakened within on every cell of your being, begin to bring your conscious awareness back to present time, through all space and time and no space and time, to this now, this moment. Touching into your form, maybe rubbing your hands together slightly. Feel your presence in your physical body, knowing that you are one with all things. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay.
Thank you, Susan. So we already did a little bit of discussing how you started on your spiritual path, but what would you like to add to your experience as a spiritual leader or a teacher or just your spiritual path in general?
Right, right. Well, it was interesting because, as I said in my little bio there, we have a conventional road that we all walk on, just by virtue of being here on the earth and, a citizen of the United States and um, living within a certain set of rules and regulations and constructs, right? So it just felt to me that, I was a little kid and I could feel that there was so much more, and that, as a child of the 50s, that really wasn't a big selling point. It didn't ingratiate me to my parents or, my teachers or whatever. I was just sort of, a little bit different in terms of what was making sense. And it really was a journey. It was a pilgrimage on some level to experience life. Um, Knowing that, I came to understand many things about myself, as I evolved in my process. And I thank Elaine Aron for her work with highly sensitive people, because that really explained a lot to me about, who I was on many aspects. I realized that I was highly intuitive. I realized that, I was picking up other people's stuff. I realized that I was an empath, just feeling all of the time. And it really, again, things didn't make sense until they started to make sense, if you know what I mean. And so it was really a journey, and, the one thing about the spiritual path is that we can meet many, many teachers and mentors along the way. But at the end of the day, the relationship that I have with spirit is the one that counts. That's the one that matters the most. And, I thank many people for teaching me how to be and how not to be, and I've been in situations in development circles and groups and some East-West types of communities and things where there, it feels delicious and it's wonderful because I'm opening to, to different bliss states and things. But yet there's a dogma that comes along with that. And whenever I'm feeling that kind of hardwired construct, I really have to take a look at that for me and my process. I can't speak to everyone else. And it doesn't mean that if you find happiness and joy within that there's something wrong, because there may not be. That's not my judgment. That's not my place to make that claim. I can only share with you my own experience with that. And so, I learned a lot of hard lessons, because everything ended sort of in a crisis. And one of the gifts the spirit tells me is that it's not really, life isn't really meant to be a crisis. You stop along the roadway, you have an experience, and then you move on from there. And that was a big gift. That was a big gift to open to that level of understanding. So, these are things that I feel that uh, that were really, really helpful to me to recognize. I've been sort of a lone wolf in that respect, and that's okay. I think about the some of the great spiritual teachers of the East, and there's this story. I don't want to get too philosophical, but there's a story of a spiritual teacher, or mentor, or yogi, or mystic named Milarepa. And Milarepa lived in the caves, in the mountains, in the East. And he was a true mystic, and uh, he he would have tea with his dragons. Those negative thoughts that would keep him up at night. He would invite them to have tea with him, so he could understand his blocks and limitations. We can correlate to that with SRT. Um, and one day, a man came to him and said, Milarepa, I've been on a pilgrimage for many years to come and see you, to learn from you, and to be your humble student. How can I begin? And Milarepa said, I want you to go out and build me the finest house you can. And he did. And he was gone for many years. And he came back and he said, I've built the house. I, I spent, no expense was spared. It's just the most magnificent place you could ever imagine. And he says, are you ready to come and live with me there? And he said, that's fantastic. Now, there's something else I want you to do. And he said, anything, mentor. And he said, I want you to go and tear it down, because it didn't mean anything. The material world to him meant nothing. It was really his connection to spirit again. That's a very extreme example, but that's kind of, like, in my life, many things come and go, um, and I've had to learn many tough lessons along the way. But at the end of the day, as I've said before, my relationship with spirit has been the most profound. And so fast forward then, I find SRT, and there'd been something that I had dealt with over and again in my life, that I really felt that with all the tools that I had, I was, a medium, I was channeling, I had healing arts systems at my disposal, and I really felt that I was able to understand through everything and clear out what was going on. But here it was again. And I started to see similar patterns with some of my clients, that while try as we may to move stuff off that in the past worked great, it wasn't working anymore. And someone said to me, maybe it's time that you had an SRT session. And I didn't even know what SRT was. And I thought, oh my gosh, something else to learn. I thought I'd learned it all, And sure enough, I went and I had this session, and I really, really felt the energy of SRT moving through, clearing some blocks and interferences for me. Those hard lessons, there were a few more times it resurfaced. But as you and I both know, we have this little friend called self-will that can, you know, and a desire to recreate programs from time to time too. So, I kind of sort of chalked it all up to the learning process that comes along with SRT. But I was really sold on it, and I thought, I want to learn this. And honestly, everything that I had learned in the past kind of came to me. I expressed an interest, and there it was. I wanted to study these, esoteric things. And next thing I know, I learned about a class. I didn't know anything about it before. And so too it was with SRT. I wanted to learn it, and lo and behold, someone in my area was teaching it. I learned the basic, I learned the advanced. And again, and this was when, they were offering SRT classes in person, in certain areas of the country. Well, it was right down the street from my house. Here's intensive skills and all of the other advanced classes. They just happened to be there. So, I thought, I would be remiss if I didn't, go forward. And I loved every minute of it. Every class that I learned, I felt happier and lighter, and I wanted to know more, and I wanted to do more, and I could feel the expansion of it. So it was just delightful. I
Wonderful.
never, yeah, I never had the opportunity to meet Robert or Marianne. I was on a call with Robert once, but that was it, and it was shortly before he passed. But the work that he has done with spirit, with this system, has just been the greatest gift for me. I have to say.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you sharing those experiences because I think many of us have had similarities in our spiritual paths. And you, as you have learned not just SRT, but other things, you have a topic that you wanted to share with us tonight about the gift of making space. I like that term, making the space for unconditional love through SRT. What does that mean to you, and what would you like to share with the group tonight about that topic?
Yeah, yeah. In short, really, the unconditional love that we all have within us is sort of reawakened or realized the more we do clearings for ourselves, and the more we work with SRT, I feel, as we are, moving out these discordant energies. So, but there's always this methodology, this path that takes place, and so you go and you have a clearing, and you feel really, really good, and maybe you're energized, motivated, you feel lighter and happy for the first time, and the more and more you experience SRT, the lighter you feel, the cleaner you feel. The positive energies are automatically downloading, replacing negative, heavy energies. And, it's just a wonderful experience. But then, what may happen is, well, I'm feeling pretty good. And, and I may drop into a level of complacency. So, maybe I'm not clearing right now. And next thing I know, this happy state, my euphoria, if you will, begins to sort of wane a bit, and I'm interacting with people in ways or having thoughts that I'm not comfortable with. Where's this coming from? And I remember an SRT teacher said in class, as long as we're alive, we're creating programming. You know, so, my complacency may yield to a way of relating where I pick up an energy, or I may have an event where I assign a value to it that I might have otherwise let go of, and that energy might dense into a belief, which then denses into a perception, further into a judgment, and I've added habits, become habituated behaviors over time, which create these programs. And so, so I'm kind of, just by not doing anything, I can sort of dense into a lower frequency. I might have some past life dogmas that get triggered, or constructs that might be held in a level of soul or spirit consciousness. Now that I've reached that level, things awaken at different levels of our experience as a soul. So, that's kind of like the other side of the coin, it's um I'm kind of moving out of the bliss state. Or maybe I'm not asking the right questions when I'm doing a clearing. I just, well, spirit will take care of everything. The spirit may need to be educated, or some of my committees and teams may need to be educated. And that's really an important element of the clearing process. And so, before I'm working with somebody or even myself, I'll say, what am I looking at here? What do I really want to get clear on through this session? What do I need help from spirit with? And if I find that I'm sort of in some kind of a pattern where the same thing might be tripping me up, I'll start to ask these questions like, spirit, what am I not seeing? Help me see what I can't see. What am I hiding it? Is it being hidden? What's going on here? Help me here. What's blocking and limiting me? What's keeping me from the state of unconditional love, or the graceful state? Is it one of these energies, beliefs, perceptions, judgments, habits being held someplace? And then another big question is, am I willing to let it go? How many of us have said, no, not ever, not that one. Spirit, you can have all these other things, but not that one, you know, because if I let that go, what does that mean for me? Even a seasoned practitioner may ask that question, may have that energy, where's my ego at any given time? Am I operating at the correct level of ego here? That can also trigger some of this stuff. So, is my soul ready to release it? What's really going on here? So, I have this conversation with spirit. That's one of the gifts, again, that once I learned the technique of SRT, go to chart one, ask the question, go to chart whatever, do the clear, there then becomes this art of asking questions, this art of deeper inquiry. And Kathleen, I got to say, I have to thank you. You put out a little booklet a while. It's been an invaluable tool to me, and really sort of, uh, you know, a jumping board to my own developing the art of asking questions. So I can't thank you enough for that. If you folks don't have that, please avail yourself of it. It's really an amazing piece of writing.
Thank you.
So yeah, so in any event, SRT will clear these things as long as we're educating spirit and we are willing, on all levels of who we are, to the best of our ability at any given time, to let these things go, so that this elevated state of soul and spirit consciousness can really take root. Because you clear yourself, you're at the new paradigm, and then 3 weeks later you're not. So how do we stay up there? It's important to ask these questions. SRT will clear us of these things, and it's important to ask spirit for help. It's important to drop our defenses. It's important to release abdication energies, soul family obligations, release the desire to suffer, recreate programming, holding on to any past pains or hurts. Those things foster the phenomenon of separation in all of its displays. And it can create little fun things like rationalization and judgment and us versus them. And, you can see how this stuff kind of goes south. So it's so important to stay buoyed and elevated, when you're doing this work. It really is a gift to be able to, you know, to have this level of clearing. I want to talk about clearing our soul family real quick here. Because our soul family, whether it's the microcosm of, mom, dad, sister, brother, husband, wife, dogs, whatever it might be, or if it's the macrocosm of maybe my community or the earth plane or the Milky Way galaxy, beyond, wherever we are in in the thinking of the soul family, we've made vows to these, members of the soul family. Um, the world energies that are flowing also negatively influence us. Um, and that can come up in our brain restructuring, when we are called to look there. World energies block and limit me in my life. That's something that, was introduced at a very early age, so these are things that we can, through the grace of SRT, clear out and raise our vibration, and consequently that of the soul family that we are with, or if spirit wants to, us to ascend beyond that. So, Robert taught us that once we clear soul family, we clear ourselves in relation to soul family, and all of that comes with, we are part of the one, we're part of the one. And when we are part of the one, we're picking up everybody else's programs, everybody's picking up our programs. So there's always something to clear. And we can undertake to do that joyfully. It's really not a problem. And the more you clear yourself, you may find, like when you first started doing clearings for yourself, it took a very long time to clear yourself, perhaps, but maybe now it takes 10 minutes. It doesn't take long at all, because you're really moving the energies, and so much, you have that deeper understanding on the soul level, that so much is cleared through mappa. So, we don't need to know everything, and so spirit, we're more in the teamwork of allowing, spirit, when we let go, to do this work. And again, it buoys our ascension. So, we can, again, love and grace, love and grace, love and grace is replacing all of this lower force frequency. And it's really a wonderful process. Um, yes, another thing that I want to talk about with you is, please don't think that practicing unconditional love is practicing spirit imitation. We talk about spirit imitation on chart 8B, right? And it gets cleared in mappa, but there are, it does come up from time to time where there's some aspect of my soul or spirit consciousness that is saying, I've got to live my life like spirit, or maybe you've heard this, this person is godlike, you or Christ-like, or whatever, whatever it might be. That's a value somebody else is assigning to another person, but it's also, it to me, we're talking about spirit imitation. Um, so, I'm not perfect on any stretch of any imagination, and nor are any of us. And we're spiritual beings. We're co-creators with spirit of our destiny, of our spiritual path. We clear this dogma of being the same of spirit as spirit. Maybe we've had many religious lifetimes where that was the goal, or we fell short of the mark and felt, the scarring that we talk about on 10A or wherever it might show up, where we're separate from spirit, and how can I get back into the fold of spirit, So all of that can be cleared out, making way for us to really stand in our own space. We are one with spirit in a co-creative process in our unique expression. And that's a really important thing to know. For me, maybe it's, I'm an artist, for maybe somebody else, if they're a writer or a teacher or a doctor, whatever their unique expression is, you know. And if we don't know what that is, if we're still in the process of arriving, trying to know who we really are, we can always ask spirit, what, how can you help me understand What is my unique expression? 9 times out of 10, Spirit's going to say you're lovely just as you are. And so perhaps there's a little bit of clearing on being accepting of the wonderfulness of who I am, whatever that might be. Sometimes we equate being unconditionally loving as, as a thing to attain. And it's really something we already are. Again, as I mentioned before, when we clear all this goo out of the way, we can really shine in that. It's not a Western success model. It's inherent within us. I can't be a not good person and be unconditionally loving. I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
Right, right. So,
Uh, you
well,
know.
I'm sorry, did you want some feedback from the group about your discussion at this point, or?
Well, there's one more point I wanted to
Sure,
make,
of course.
if it's okay, and
Of
then we
course.
can open it up if we're good with that.
Mhm.
Um, the only other thing I wanted to share is this whole, like the whole idea of the 2,600 pathways. Okay, we can be on this, wonderful path of ascension and enlightenment, but when we talk about the 2,600 pathways, there are holdover frequencies of times that we've lived as animals, as we've been maybe grass or a tree or an insect or a mineral or a bird or something like that. And why am I bringing that up? Because there may be aspects of who I am in my personality, you know that are tied into that. Maybe if I'm a hoarder, maybe I have some, animal frequencies, because think about that, animals are always sort of hoarding food, maybe if I have a weight issue, maybe I've got some unresolved 2,600 pathway issues here that, sounds like, oh, pish posh, why would I even think about that? But it can truly be an issue. So if I'm mowed over in life, am I still, having blade of grass frequencies, if she's a pushover, am I, something that is immovable? Am I stuck? Am I running mineral frequency? Am I a very flighty person? Maybe I have bird energies. See what I'm saying? If life is always swatting at me, or I feel like I'm being swatted down, or what have you, maybe I've got an insect frequency. I think these are things that have a little fun with the clearing, but important points to take a look at if you're really stuck. Again, these are the art of asking questions. Play with it, see where I'm, spirit, what percent am I running animal energies that are blocking and limiting me in some way? Maybe that's the strand that's keeping me stuck. And if I can clear that strand with spirit, awareness, I'm going to be a lot better off now, aren't I? So anyway, just some little other queries to think about. So that's really what I wanted to share. And so I guess if there's anything that you want to ask me at this time, I'm happy to entertain that.
Okay, and if anyone has questions, just a reminder, go ahead and put it in the chat box or raise your hand. I don't see everyone. Let me see. Might be easier if you put it in the chat box. Otherwise, Susan, is there a question that you want them to ask themselves? As you've talked about asking questions and asking spirit to show you the way to whatever it is you're wanting to release. Maybe even what percent are we willing to accept unconditional love toward ourselves or self-love?
Right,
Those might be questions we want to think about.
right. Yeah, and I really think that that's important. I mean, there can be parts of who we are from other lives where We have felt profoundly unlovable, or we have chosen not to love. We've walled off our hearts to others. We can ask that question, Spirit, are there energies running that are supporting that? Are there beliefs? Are there perceptions? I ask that individually. Show me what that is. Is there a root running that is supporting that? What percent am I seeing or not seeing? What percent am I willing to let go? How willing am I really to be in that state?
Mm-hmm.
Spirit, I say this is what I want, but is it really what I want? Is the answer on the charts? Is it someplace else?
Right. So the thing that comes to my mind is, do we have blocks to awareness? And which is a good place to start as well. And your questions about, is it on the charts? Is there a hint on the charts? Robert, as you know, asked that also, like, is there a hint on the charts that would help me see something? Right.
Yeah, and again, going back to that idea of separation, for me, that's a very big one. Because if I'm separate from you, and that's sort of a thing, isn't it, that we experience here. We're separate from each other, especially now. I, as much as I might like to physically give someone a hug and a peck on the cheek, I really, unless they're a part of my immediate tribe, I'm not in a position to do that. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't have any question. Oh, wait,
Yeah,
exactly. Excuse
Reza's
me, there
got
is
one.
one. Yeah, it just came in. Do you ever incorporate any of the symbols from the spiritual healing book to accompany your clearings? That's a great question. I
Yeah,
know
that
some of,
is.
what would you say to that, Susan?
Yeah, absolutely, Reza. That's a great question. And what I usually will do with that the spiritual healing book is I will ask what page it's on. I will go through using my pendulum to find out what is the most appropriate symbol that's going to support my process. Or is there a symbol that will help unlock whatever whatever's going on for me right now in relation to this block to unconditional loving. you know it is unconditional loving to me is a state of grace. And if am I in the state of grace? What's the frequency? um and another thing I've done with symbols, again, back in the day when people were coming over, I'd make a photocopy of it and tell them to sleep with it under their pillow, have it, immersed in their body mind. And someone just asked
Yeah, and
about
how can you use the symbols remotely to support
remotely.
clients? I just didn't want to interrupt you to tell you there's
Sure.
questions.
Yeah, Margot. Yeah. Thank you, Margot, for the question. Yeah. Well, just like SRT is an energy system, so too are the healing symbols. So I'm downloading the frequencies of the healing symbol to the individual, you know, to support that process. And I would investigate in the usual way and just download that energy to that person.
Yeah, you can also, just so people may not be aware, that on chart 7, it also, spiritual healing book is an item on chart 7. So applying chart 7 can sometimes be just as effective, but finding the pattern, as you mentioned, or the symbol, just ask if spirit can download that. Malabika also had a question. Malabika, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. Um, I have a question, Susan. I was very interested in hearing you talk about spirit imitation, um, because that comes up every now and then now anymore. But my question is this, that, when we started doing SRT, every time we did a clearing, there would be a huge shift in the client, as well as, you could feel it. I'm finding more and more what's happening is that you go ahead and you do the clearing, and a lot of a lot of programs get cleared. And at the end, you go back and say, well, Spirit, is there something else to do? Inevitably, I'm being taken to conscious mind work. And the message, when I contemplate that, the message that comes is that uh, a lot of people are ready to move past the spiritual infancy. So somebody else doing the clearing for them is just the beginning. But they now have to get into this place of awareness. What am I doing? And this separation idea, because we always start with Spirit and I are one. What does that mean? So are you finding that there is a need to create that awareness at a very, very deep level for the client?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You know, again, I try to drive home the fact that this is a co-creative process. That what we are doing is this, there's allopathic medicine, right? You go to a doctor and you're prescribed,
Mhm.
something, and you take this and you're well, and that's a wonderful process. Um, when we're talking about this energy healing work, we're talking about the personal responsibility
Correct.
of the healing that my client has come forward for. You know,
Mhm.
I think it's very interesting that you know the people that come to see me, the people that I work with, the people that work with you, or anybody who's a practitioner, the clients that come to see you, uh, when you're working with them, uh, there's a very, you kind of get why they're there.
Yeah.
There's something that you have as spirit moves through you in this process that really resonates with them. So you can light the match,
Yeah.
and you and spirit light the match, and say, okay, now it's up to you to build the fire, so that you can continue the process, so you can bring the light for yourself. And yeah, so that is, it's a very, yeah, there is more is being asked
More is being.
of humanity at this time.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And it's interesting observation. It's an interesting observation.
And conscious mind work is such an important part of our lives,
Yeah.
because once you clear your programs, your pathway is still there, but the boulders might be out of the way. But now are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Move forward. So yeah, beautiful comments. Just going back also just a little bit to the spiritual healing book, which is a fabulous tool. It can help you with your conscious mind work, actually, for fear and other things. But it can also help you with physical, mental, emotional, spiritual direction. And one comment that Lauren had was that she puts in the instructions, it actually says you can do this. She puts water over the symbols and then sips it throughout the day to work on an issue, which is lovely. You can also do that for your pets, charge their drinking water with a particular healing. And then Margot also mentions that she likes to produce spiritual healing principles to her new clients to help create a foundation of what they're working on. And that's a beautiful idea, Margot. Yeah. So Reza also just says he finds the conscious mind work to be challenging sometimes and wish it was as easy as SRT. Yeah, that's the thing. But I think that's why it has the word work in it. Conscious mind work.
Yeah.
So, but one suggestion, I know Susan might have one, is if I ask spirit to show me the way, then it doesn't seem as hard because I'm watching and they can just present, like Susan had said earlier. So did you have anything you want to add to help with that?
It you know when in when in doubt, act as if, and you know, and this is, I guess, an axiom for life too, you know, not just with the SRT, but you know, if we stand in our own personal strength, you know, I feel that that really supports conscious, you know, the conscious mind work, you know, standing in our own personal strength. And maybe I'm not strong enough to do that, but I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to be in my strength. And so whatever is going on in my world, I can be a witness to it and observe it, right? And just experience that, as opposed to being unconscious and being, again, going back to these 2,600 pathways, being mowed over, or, you know, being swatted at, or whatever it might be energetically. And, you know, and that can just be even my own thought process, you know. It doesn't have to be that I'm having a, you know, a negative interaction, but just how am I processing? If I am a being, and so I ask myself that question, you know, if I am co-creating my life with spirit, what does that look like? You know, you know, am I engaging in the world, or am I retreating from the world? Um, where am I in that process? How am I in relation to others? You know, what does that look like for me? You know,
Yeah. So, yeah,
so,
going back to that self-awareness questions, we are
yeah,
closing in a couple of minutes. So I want to sum up some of the last comments. Margot, as far as the 2,600 pathways, we don't have time to expand on that perhaps, but feel free. Susan, could you type your email in the chat box?
sure.
So I forgot to put that in there earlier. My apologies. And if you have a website so that people can contact you with some questions. Um, Also, someone asked about my questions about the art of asking questions was the name of one of my articles. That one did end up published in the Ascension several years ago. But if you go to, thank you, Susan, for writing that in. If you go to my website, srtworks.com, and I'll type that in there.
Kathleen, there is also an article by Robert on the 2,600 pathways
Yes, there are
and the
several. Thank you.
83 waves of expression. So I don't know whether people can access those articles.
Well, that's what I was wondering, Malabika, is the SRA used to sell articles that were in the Ascension, but they were old articles. You
Mhm.
could just tell them which ones you wanted. There was a form that was sent that could be sent out to people to order
Tell
articles.
Veronica. She's
Yeah.
the
So
manager.
Veronica and also Christy you'd have to contact them.
Yeah,
Christie's in publications.
correct.
Yeah, so we can, 2,600 Pathways is a fascinating topic.
Mhm.
So publications at spiritualresponse.com.
Mhm.
I hope publications, just a minute. Um, that's going to be Christie's. She's in publications. She does the Ascension. Wanted to let you know if you're interested in my ebook, it has, I don't know, maybe 20 articles in it. That's the one where you go to srtworks.com and you would go to the store button, and within 24 hours you'd get a link to download that.
Mhm.
So, and then thank you, Veronica. Veronica is SRA manager at spiritualresponse.com. You can also let her know. And Veronica, it used to be a form that teachers could hand out or that the office could send out, but I don't know if it's updated. Uh, okay, so we are right before 6 o'clock. We have our closing meditation from Susan. I want to thank you all for your questions. I'm just going to go right back up. I also wanted to say, Stella, and you can always ask. You'll find this on your SRT procedure on the advanced one under sticky issues at the probably the bottom of page 6 of the SRT advanced, where it says the soul may believe that, excuse me, let's get it here. You may need to ask if there's another reason that's causing the problem. For example, the spiritual being or soul may want the client to suffer as part of the learning process.
Mhm.
So you can always ask that. If yes, you can clear the reasons for it. That's on the procedure page, bottom of page 6, SRT procedure. And I know you may have other questions, and thank you so much for bringing those up. And I'll turn the closing meditation over to Susan.
Well, thank you everybody for being present tonight. And I really appreciated the opportunity to talk to you all and to see some familiar faces. So let's just close our eyes one more time and take those nice, beautiful, measured breaths in and out. Breathing in the breath of spirit, moving that breath through the body. And on the exhale, just know that you are sending the breath of spirit out into the world. Every breath, I am dropping into my center. I am balanced and I am whole. I am one with spirit and with all. I am in my strength. I am unconditionally loving. I honor and respect others and their unique expression. I release all that does not serve me. I embrace the gift of grace, and I share that grace with the world. And so it is. Bringing the breath into your conscious awareness. Returning to this moment, rubbing your hands together, open.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you everyone for attending. Just to let you know again, if you have any questions for the SRA, you can direct those to SRA Manager at spiritualresponse.com, especially about the articles we discussed. All the ones we discussed have the art of asking questions as well as pathways below chart 3, 2600 pathways can be found in former Ascension articles. Thank you, Susan. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Susan. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, the theme was great. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.